I'm just going to make sure that the sound is up and running here, and I believe we are live. Let me just make sure that that is the case, and see what's going on here. To the point, informative, entertaining, and protecting the Second Amendment. Welcome back to Elster's Rifles Reloading. And I got about 20, 30 minutes here to quickly anneal up some brass. I'm not going to go over how to anneal brass in this. I'm just going to anneal some brass. I figured we could chat at the same time. Um, I use the glow method. I don't use Templac. That's about it. And I know it's full of opinions, but I figured we could just chat while I nail up some brass. So let me make sure that my live stream is up and running here. And sounds good. And we already got 7 people watching. Make sure you smash that thumbs up. And I have 200 pieces of 556 Lake City brass I need to nail up. And I'm not going to go through how to nail, why I nail. I'm just going to nail. And I figure we could chat at the same time. And I got 100 pieces here of my own and 100 pieces for Scott. And I got my test brass here to get my flame and my speed set just correctly. And I know a lot of you guys have seen that already. Matter of fact, you check out my video playlist. I got a ton of videos showing you how I nail, why I nail, and using the EP 2.0 nailer. But I figured I'd have you guys join me here. And I'm just going to get this set up. I'm just going to rock and roll. If you guys got any questions, let yourself be known. But I'm just going to make sure I got my test brass here. This is brass that I use to set up the nailer. And then I also have my 100 pieces here of Scott's, 100 pieces of mine. And I'm just going to get this going here. And like I said, if you got any questions, jump in the chat room, say hello. Anything about reloading, I'll try my best to answer them. So I'm just going to make sure that this is running smoothly. This is test brass. This has been over annealed a billion times. I use this over and over and over, so that looks really good. So I'm going to get my torch rolling here. And go full bore, open it wide up, then I lower it down, and then I open it back up. So that inner blue flame is roughly about 1 inch long. I know a lot of guys have already seen this, but I'm going to dim these lights down. I got about 20, 30 minutes to get this done. So let me shut off these lights. And so I'm going to grab my test brass here, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to lower this speed way down, as slow as I can get it. Try my best to do this with a camera in front of me. And I'm lowering that speed way down, so I got tons of time to position this flame. I'm doing this live for you guys. So I usually get that hotter blue inner flame, just so it's barely touching the brass, right where the neck meets the shoulder. You can see that's getting way too hot. So I'm going to run another piece here. I got this pretty much where I want it. I'm going to speed this up. Remember, this is just test brass. This isn't my actual reloaded brass. And I got this hotter blue inner flame, just barely touching where the neck meets the shoulder. Position this just a little bit better. So right about there. In fact, I'll clip you out on the next piece here so you can see this a little bit better. Speed this up. Usually it's in the high 30s, low 40s for 223. So that's just about perfect. So remember, this is just test brass. This is not my reloaded brass. I use this to set up the annealer. And I want this so the brass drops right out of the flame just as it starts to glow. That looks just about perfect. And that's right about 38. Probably going to slow that down just a smidge, probably about 37. And then this isn't a speed count. This is just a percentage amount of voltage going to the motor, but it gives you an idea of how fast the motor's turning. We're gonna get that so it just starts to glow on the neck. Probably slow this down ever so slightly. Remember, this is test brass. I don't care if it gets destroyed, it's already destroyed. Just starts to glow and drops out, so that looks pretty good. I'm probably gonna lower this down to 35, 34. Just starts to glow and drops out, so that looks really good. Now this is obviously way hot. I'm gonna drop this off to the side. And I'm gonna get my test brass out of the way so I don't get that confused with my actual reloaded brass. I'm grabbing my actual reloaded brass here. This is my 100 pieces, and I got Scott's off to the side here. So let's see how this glows. We want to just start to glow, drop out of the flame. That looks pretty good. Let's try another one. Probably gotta lower this down just one smidge there to 33. And that looks really, really good. So I'm gonna do one more piece. I'm gonna turn the lights back on. Right there, that looks perfect. So I'm gonna get the lights back on here. And you can see just like that how fast I got this set up ready to rock and roll. I'm just gonna give her hell now. So I'm gonna grab two of these pieces here if they're not too hot. Just show you these anneal marks. So you see the anneal marks are roughly about a 1/4 of an inch down on the body of the brass there. I'm gonna probably slow this down ever so slightly. And that looks really good. So that's why I use test brass right out of the gate. So when I go to my actual reloaded brass, I'm good to go. So once I get this going here, I'll move this camera off the side. I'm gonna check out some of your comments. So this test brass should be nice and cool down now. So you can dump this back into my bin of test brass. Get that totally out of the way so I don't get this mixed in my reloaded brass. Like I mentioned before in the previous annealing live videos, that all brass shows annealing marks differently. This is Lake City brass, might not show anneal marks as deep and rich as something like Lapua brass. Also, this has just been cleaned. Brass has usually just been cleaned right out of the wet stainless tumbler. Doesn't show anneal marks that well. So keep that in mind. So just because it doesn't show anneal marks doesn't mean it's not annealed. It's just that the brass hasn't oxidized enough to show those really deep, rich anneal marks. So like I said, if it's just right out of the wet stainless steel tumbler, it's not going to show anneal marks that well. All right, so I'm going to get you guys off to the side here. Try my best to do this and chat at the same time. Increase the height of this here. Multitasking, baby. So, all right, let me get this off to the side here so I can just concentrate on annealing and chatting at the same time. I'm going to see who's jumping in the chat boards here. All right, so we have Drew Bradley, friend. I also know he has the EP 2.0 annealer. He says, hello all, I hope all is well and healthy. And I know he's got the EP 2.0 annealer. Matter of fact, if you go to www.epintegrations.com, you can check out more information, videos, you name it, where to buy the EP 2.0 annealer on our website. Yeah, so far so good. This is looking really good. I figured we just jump on here together and chat. So Touch and Go 72 saying all good. Racer 321 saying howdy. Mike Finn 38 with the thumbs up. So let's see what Drew Bradley has to say here. So how far do you remove the crimp on your 223-556 primer pockets with a machine crimp removal tool until you bottom out the flatlanders or just nick it? How does it matter to you? So I used to use my Lyman case prep center here for removing the crimp on the chamfer bit. I recently started using the RCBS crimp removal tool. Matter of fact, I'll clip you out of here in a quick second to show you that. Try and do all this while I'm annealing brass at the same time. So I used to use this inside chamfer bit for moving the crimp, but I highly suggest getting the RCBS large and small crimp primer pocket removal bit. They sell this in large and small, and it takes all the guesswork out of it. Just trust me, buy it, get it over with. You don't have to use the amount of force that you feel through the bit to know if you're taking out too much or too little. It just does it for you. And I would just get that right out of the gate. Matter of fact, I'll show you. I think I got the small one on the Lyman case prep center right now. Oh, this one's screwed all the way in. So this is what it looks like. Talk about seriously reloading, multitasking while I'm chatting. So this is what it looks like. It just takes all the guesswork out of removing crimp primer pocket, especially something like this, Lake City brass. And they sell these in both small and large. And like I said, I used to use the inside chamfer bit to remove those crimps, but you got to be careful. You could take out too much, especially in small primer pockets. And it definitely does work, but you got to feel that resistance through the bit as you're removing the brass. And like I said, you definitely can't take out too much. So I would just spend, I don't think these cost much off the top of my memory. I think these are like a little over 20 bucks, maybe 40, 50 bucks for the set for large and small crimp primer pockets. And it does a fantastic job. And I, matter of fact, have a Dillon Super 600, and I don't even use that thing anymore. Matter of fact, I'm probably going to sell the damn thing. So you can see I'm almost through the 100 pieces here already, and all of these anneals look really, really consistent. So hopefully that answers your question there, my friend. Chris Billis is saying, hey dudes. Racer 321 saying 32 for me. Drew Bradley saying this annealer is so much fun. I find it exceptionally relaxing, as nutty as that sounds. It is true. Like I said, either you love it reloading or you don't. And it also rings true in regards to annealing. Either you like it or you don't. And I personally enjoy it. Just reloading in general, I just find it relaxing. It's just kind of my getaway down in the basement man cave here in the Alster's reloading room. So Eddie Rivera saying, hello, Alster. Hello, Eddie. How are you? Thanks for joining us. And we are almost done here already. And this was shot out of my Rock River Arms 223 with a varmint bull barrel. An absolute freaking laser. If you guys go to my video playlist, when I did the video reviews for the the Vortex Venom 5 to 25 FFP scope, and also the Arkin Optics 6 to 24. This is the ammo that I use, and that thing's an absolute freaking laser. If you don't believe me, you can check out that video series. We're talking easily a half minute AR all day long, and especially for an AR that I got super cheap, under $1,000. Just a phenomenal freaking AR. I mean, it is an absolute laser. So I think pre-COVID I got that for, I think it was like $980, brand spanking new. Got it off someone off a gun broker. I mean that bar, and I've had 4 or 5 Rock River Arms varmint bull barrels, 20 inches long barrel, and every single one has been an absolute laser right out of the box. So, see what else we got here. So Drew Bailey saying yes, I have both sizes. The 3 flute models, they cut really fast. Just wasn't sure if they're too much. No, you can't screw it up with those bits. If you got the RCBS Crypt Primer pocket removal bits there, you cannot screw that up. You can leave it on there forever and it's not going to screw up that primer pocket. So, and you only have to do it once if you're new to the game for removing Crypt Primer pockets. Once you've done it on the first round of reloading for that brass, you'd never have to do it again. So looking at all of these anneal marks, oh man, they look super consistent. So Racer 321 saying, you still making the feeder attachment for the EP 2.0 annealer? And yes, we are. I'm still working with it on Eagle Eye shooting. I know he's gone through a couple different prototypes. We're just kind of locking down and figuring out exactly which route we want to go. You know, it's one thing's for sure when it comes to producing a product is it takes a long time, especially if you want to do it right. So just like that, we are done with 100 pieces. So I'm going to move this off to the side, and I'm going to put my piece of brass, piece of paper in here so I know whose is who, and this is mine. So I'm going to set that off to the side. We're going to move on to Scott's. Just like that, we just crushed 100 pieces, and this is why I don't think you even need a hopper. At roughly 5-6 seconds a piece, I just don't see it being necessary. I just really don't. Now Scott's brass here, I cleaned a while ago. My brass, I cleaned really recently. We're talking a couple days ago. And because Scott's brass was cleaned about a week prior to mine and it had a little bit more of a chance to get some oxidization on that brass, it's getting definitely a more rich anneal mark. I'm going to show you that to you here in a little bit. And this is a classic example of how brass will show anneal marks differently. Like I mentioned, brand new brass that's never been reloaded before, never been cleaned, will show super rich, dark anneal marks because that brass has had a chance to oxidize, get some oxidization on that brass. And that oxidization reacts with the annealing process. And if you just wash that brass, you take it out of the stainless steel or wet tumbler, it will barely show any anneal marks at all. But if you were to wash that brass and let it sit around your reloading room for a couple weeks and then anneal it, it will show a nice, deep, rich anneal mark. And that's exactly what we're seeing here. Exactly the same brass. Both of these sets are 5.56 Lake City brass, same years, came out of the same box. Just because this brass had a chance to sit around my reloading room for roughly 1 or 2 weeks longer than this, it's going to show a deeper, rich anneal mark comparison to this. Matter of fact, when we get done here, I'm going to show you the difference of how much more rich this anneal mark is in comparison to the previous 100 pieces. So exactly the same brass. I'm just not going to do that right now until we're done here, because I've got to marginally concentrate on what I'm doing while I'm reading comments and babbling about reloading at the same time. So Racer 321 saying, by the way, Screwball whiskey rocks, and I 100% agree. It's by far my most favorite sipping whiskey of all whiskeys out there, especially if you love peanut butter. It's a peanut butter whiskey. I can't recommend that sipping whiskey enough. It's a whiskey you don't need to mix with anything. You just put it on the rocks, and sip on it, and it's almost evil. So you take it camping all the time. Next thing you know, you've already downed a whole bottle of whiskey. And even if you don't like peanut butter, most of my friends that try it, they're like, "Holy cow, that that screwball whiskey is amazing." So, if you've never tried screwball whiskey before, definitely go out and get a bottle, throw it on some ice, right on the rocks, and trust me, you will love it, especially if you're a peanut butter fan. So, you must be watching my Facebook page there, Racer321, because every once in a while I'll comment on that. But like I said, when I get done with this 100 pieces, we're roughly taking about 5-6 seconds to anneal. Matter of fact, I'll count off this next one here. So 1,000, 2 1,000, 3 1,000, 4 1,000, 5 1,000, 6 1,000. So roughly about 6 seconds. So 6 seconds per anneal times 50 pieces is about 5 minutes. So if I'm doing 100 pieces here, that's going to be 10 minutes for each 100 pieces. And like I said, this brass is definitely showing a deeper, more rich anneal mark in comparison to my other brass, because that was just freshly washed, and this had a chance to sit around my reloading room for roughly 2 weeks. And if I was to let this brass sit around the reloading room even longer, like a month, it would show a super deep, rich anneal mark. Wow, that piece of brass definitely needs to get sized. That one was wobbling like a mofo. So let's see what here. We got Michael Hartneck. He's also in the house saying hi, everybody. Chris Bullis is saying that was fast. And like I said, you really don't need a hopper. That's why I designed this along with my good business partner, Scott Peterson, to make this not only easy to adjust, you can adjust from the smallest casing, something like 300 blackout, all the way up to 50 BMG without having to add or remove any parts, and adjust between cartridge to cartridge in under 30 seconds. And like I said, if it takes 6 seconds to anneal each piece, 6 seconds times 50 pieces, that's 5 minutes. If I'm doing 100 pieces, that's 10 minutes. I just burned through 100, well, in this example, 200 pieces live for you guys like it's nothing. That's, in my opinion, you don't need a hopper. And if you even do have a hopper, you still got to pick up the brass, orientate it, put it in the hopper. So what difference does it take if I'm putting in a hopper or if I'm just putting on a fence like this? You're still performing the same task. And it's no faster. They still anneal at 6 seconds an anneal. So, my opinion, you just don't need a hopper. You know, even if you're doing 300 pieces, you still got to watch the machine. It's not something like you can just walk away and go mow the yard while there's an open flame. You just can't do that. So, and that's why we're trying to, when we do get this automated with Eagle Eye shooting, that's why we're using a case feeder, not a hopper. Don't get a case feeder and a hopper confused. Two different things completely. Case feeder is where you grab a handful of brass, throw it in the case feeder, and it orientates the brass for you, and feeds the machine for you. But still, you can't walk away. You know, you got an open flame, regardless if it's flame based or induction based. You just can't walk away, and you still got to watch the machine. So that's why I could just really care less if it has a hopper or not. And I actually had another product, but I'm not going to name the name of the annealer. I think you guys all know what I'm talking about. It had a hopper, and I ended up selling it. I just never used it because it was so much easier to adjust from going from cartridge to cartridge. Like I'm doing 223 right now, and I was last week doing 6.5 Grundle, and I'm about to do some Creedmoor, and this thing just adjusts in seconds. So like I said, we get done here. show you these anneal marks. Really nice, deep, and rich. So what do you got here? So Racer123 saying I air dry my brass every time. You need to start your own annealing service. So Drew Bradley saying I charge all my neighbors $10 per 500 pieces to anneal the brass. They all jumped on it, so they didn't have to do it. Well, I still have a salt bath annealer. I don't mind it at all. That's awesome. That sounds like a good side gig, actually. So we're almost done here, just like that, 200 pieces. And like I said, in my opinion, why you don't need a hopper. And I'm going to show you the richness of these anneal marks between brass that was just freshly cleaned with a stainless steel wet tumbler and brass that has been sitting around for a couple weeks and had a chance to oxidize. Oh, Scott's got some good dings in his brass. We definitely need to get some Velcro on his brass deflector here so we can help eliminate these dings in his brass. And that's just a good reloading trick in regards to help solve any dents in the side of the case body. You actually get some Velcro that has a adhesive backer on it, cut a little chunk off and put it on your brass deflector, and it will eliminate that dent in the side of your case body completely. So we're definitely gonna have to get that on his AR for sure. So we are almost done here. Only got about 5 pieces left. So once again, just burn through another 100 pieces like it's nothing. Like I said, if you got to load up the hopper with 100 pieces, you still got to pick it up and put it in the hopper, or feed a single feed fence like this. It's still the same damn thing in my opinion. So that's why it's not a big issue. And we anneal brass to help get consistent neck tension, get consistent headspace bumps, reduces split necks, and just like that, we are done. So I am going to grab some of these pieces that aren't blazing hot, just 3 random pieces. So just 3 random pieces. I didn't check these over. I'm going to set these up, shut this off, and just to show you how consistent this is, gotta make sure you don't touch this brass stopper because it is blazing hot. But just like that, super consistent uh, annealing of this brass. You can see it now how rich this brass is. Now this brass was cleaned about 2 weeks ago and has had a chance to sit around for a while. You can see how rich those anneal marks are. Now let me grab 3 pieces out of here. This is just cleaned. Same exact brass, came out of the same box. I bought this all at the same time. And because this brass was just cleaned and didn't have a chance to oxidize, you can see the difference. Both annealed at the same time. And you can see that the anneal marks on this are not as rich as this because this brass had a chance to sit around for about 2, maybe 3 weeks and had a chance to oxidize. And that oxidization will react with the anneal process and will give you a much more deep, rich anneal. Now, these are both annealed. This is the exact same. They both have the exact same amount of anneal on them, both showing very consistent anneal marks. It's just this doesn't show anneal marks as strong because it hasn't had a chance to oxidize. And that's why I like using the glow method. Not saying those that use temp lacquers are wrong, but I look at the amount that that brass starts to glow. The second the neck and the start of the shoulder starts to glow, I get it out of the annealer. And that tells me that it has been annealed. And just because it doesn't show a nail mark does not mean it's not annealed. If I was to literally just wash this, dry it right away, and the second I took it out and I annealed it, it would barely show any nail marks whatsoever. So keep that in mind. when it comes to annealing. So just because it doesn't show anneal marks doesn't mean it's not annealed. And more expensive, better, something like Lapua brass or Lapua, or whatever you want to pronounce it, um, will usually show darker, more rich anneal marks, especially if it's really brand new, right out of the bag. Something like Starline brass or Lapua brass they just took out, and it's had a chance to oxidize in that bag for, it could have been sitting on the shelf at the retail store for a year. And that brass will show a really, really deep, rich anneal mark. So MacBand 039 realize that I run the amp annealer. That's a fantastic annealer. For those who are not familiar, that's Annealing Made Perfect. It's an induction annealer, where this is a flame-based annealer. It's an amazing product. Don't get me wrong, and I even recommend the product. But then again, it is $1,400, where ours is $268. And you can check this out on our website, www.epintegrations.com, where me and my business partner, Scott Peterson, we sell those on there for $268, shipped to lower 48 states. And we'll send out custom quotes if you email us at epintegrations@hotmail.com. If you live in something like Hawaii or Alaska or even Canada. So, what else we got here? So Richie Gonzalez saying, I've been reloading for a few coworkers lately. Drew Bradley saying the cost of replenishing the salt for the salt bath annealer and hazmat shipping fees from Canada. One place that offers salt, you can buy this EP annealer and be ahead of the money game, no joke. And I'm just not a fan of salt bath annealing. I mean, the fact that you're dealing with, no joke, liquid molten salt, it just doesn't jive well with me. I'd rather just stick with either flame-based annealer or a deduction annealer. So good old Ghost Tactical is in the house. Talk about amazing guy, amazing channel. Make sure you're checking out his channel. Make sure you subscribe, like, and share. Matter of fact, he's just getting into the long distance game here. And I think he just purchased a Bagara. I could be wrong. That's a B14. I think that's what he got in 6.5 Creedmoor, and it sounds like he's really enjoying it. Matter of fact, some of his videos right out of the gate, he's getting amazing accuracy results out of that, even with factory ammo. So, man, if he was to get into the reloading realm and started to do some load development, man, you could, no joke, shrink those groups even in half. No joke, if you were to get in the reloading realm. And that would definitely carry on from 100 to 1,000 yards once you start taking those long distance shots. Um, just and another thing too is, just because your rifle shoots small groups at 100 yards doesn't mean it's going to make amazing groups at 1,000. It's a true statement. Um, but if your firearm can't consistently group at a 1 inch or 1 minute of angle at 100 yards or less, you're going to be wasting your time at 1,000 yards plus. So keep that in mind. So Richard Gonzalez saying, how often do you anneal your brass? Me and everyone at the tip of the spear here in regards to precision reloading usually anneal every single time. I know some people anneal every second or third time. My opinion, those that are annealing every third time, I think you're wasting your time. It's all about consistency. And all the guys I know, especially in the PRS world, bench rest, F class, they're annealing every single time. And that helps soften the brass. What happens is that brass, when you fire it, it expands into the chamber. For example, if it's a factory chamber, it could expand 5 thousandths of an inch, and then you bump it back 5 thousandths of an inch, and then you refire it back 5 thousandths of an inch, and you bump it back with your full length resizing knife 5 thousandths of an inch, and that's what's called work hardening the brass. What happens is that brass will get brittle. You start getting split necks. Rather than, maybe, for example, an AR and 5.56, rather than getting if you're not annealing, you might only get 4 anneals out of that brass rather than 6 or 7, for pure example sake. Obviously, with a bolt action, it's not as hard as on the brass. You might get more fires on that brass. So just keep that in mind. But it helps with neck tension, consistent headspace bumps, and just increasing the longevity of that brass in general. And I anneal every single time. And it, like you guys just watched, it didn't take long. Actually, I didn't have this tightened down. It's not a big deal. I probably should have had that tightened down. Well, but hopefully that answers your question there, Richie. So ghost taxiing and looking into it. So yeah, definitely, if my opinion, to be a true marksman, you need to get into the reloading world. You're 33% ammo, 33% rifle, and 33% your ability. If one fails, they all fail. And uh, but in my opinion, to get the true accuracy out of your firearm, you need to reload. You just simply do, and you're not going to beat that low development, especially if you're going in the competition world. Those guys are going to smoke you all day long if you're not doing your own reloads and doing your own load development. So, but other than that, I'm going to wrap this up. I just figured I'd do this for you guys live, and just show you the difference between brass that's been sitting around and oxidization for a little while, and something that just came out of the wash. And just to show you guys something here, right next door is where I build all these annealers, and they are ready to rock and roll. And we have all the parts. We got fences, we got stopper blocks, we got shim plates, we got the motors here ready to rock and roll, speed controls. We got boxes and boxes of cases waiting to get prepped up. We got drums like you wouldn't believe. And we have all these parts ready to rock and roll. And matter of fact, we have boxes and boxes of annealers already boxed up, waiting to get a label slapped on it. And you do not need to wait for the EP 2.0 annealer. And I build these, no joke, right next to the reloading room here. And my good business partner, Scott Peterson, and I, we do this as a side business above and beyond our full-time jobs. So if you want to get one of these on order, $268, shipped to lower 48 states, www.epintegrations.com. You can see live how easy it is, how fast it is to set up, how consistent the anneal is. We also have the EP lockdown block that's adjustable from the smallest of casings, something like 223. It'll be the last reloading block that you need to get. You just put it in, adjust it, and done. If you want to go to something bigger, and this will go just under 223 all the way up to the big gun, something like 375 Chi-Tac, you'll never have to hunt down another reloading block. Just like that, in less than a second. It's really that easy. And we have this on the website too, www.epintegrations.com. Shipped to the 50 states in a flat rate envelope for $125, or sorry, $124. And I know some people think it's a little pricey, but this is 3 total milled plates, 6061 aluminum with stainless steel knurled knobs, and it's just an amazing product. So other than that, I got to wrap this up, my friends. I got a Packer game to go to, and I got some spotted cow to drink. So other than that, smash that thumbs up, and I will see you guys in the next video.